Back in the 90s, I thought drinking Crystal Light was my way of starting to care about health. Well, it went from Kool-Aid to Crystal Light, so I care. Mascara, this is our mascara. When I found out mascara is like one of the second biggest offenders in makeup, I was like, what the fuck is in mascara? I found out that most mascaras have forever chemicals in it.
Your son being diagnosed with autism, as a parent, like at the time, what resources were out there? What were you being told, and what caused you to say, no, I'm gonna seek some answers out here?
So my son, Evan, was around 2.5 when the first nightmare moment began.
You could have kept it quiet. That would have been the safe thing, is to help your son, but keep it to the family. What was the first time you talked about it publicly? Jenny, I'm so excited about this. Thanks for coming on the pod.
I've been waiting to talk to you, so I'm really glad. I love your show. I love you, and I'm a full supporter of Dr. Wilco.
Thanks, my friend. Thanks, honestly, from the bottom of my heart. I never got to say thank you. Maybe I should have, but if I haven't, let me tell you, let's say it in front of the world. Thank you so much for your years of support of what I do in functional medicine. It really doesn't go unnoticed, and I truly am thankful.
Oh, you're so welcome. I thank you. I feel like you guys are the unsung heroes, you know? People still don't get that the only doctors people should be seeing are functional health medicine doctors. So I'm grateful for you too as well.
Thanks so much. All right, so look, can we go way back and kind of set the stage? When did wellness and health for you personally, when did that journey start for you?
Well, you know, when I was thinking about that, I was like looking back to when I really started caring about stuff. Back in the 90s, I thought drinking Crystal Light was my way of starting to care about health. Now, looking back at that, it's hilarious. I'm like, well, I went from Kool-Aid to Crystal Light, so I care. So,
is Crystal Light still around? I want to know. Is it?
You know what? I think it is. I think someone says that they still found it. It could be an eBay purchase. I'm not sure, which is really funny. But it really didn't come to a head until I gave birth to my son. Mind you, I was in Hollywood long enough to care about like diets and things like that, but not to get into it where you go down rabbit holes and you're fighting for someone's life. Do you really get into health?
Yeah, for sure. And I want to go through in depth your autism journey and that, but I don't know a lot about your like entry into Hollywood. What was that like? I mean, was this in the 90s, right? Or
yeah,
when
this
did
was
you first
the
get into
90s.
this space?
So this will be a fun story since we have the time. I'm going to kick off my slippers and put my feet up. So I went to college at Southern Illinois University, and I come from a family of not much money. And I really only went there to party because I went from such a strict Catholic upbringing, and I was like, I'm going to go to the #1 party school. And I was successful in that part. But I was writing bounced checks. I was selling fake VIP parking passes for money. I would go home with guys and tell them I'll meet them in their bedroom, but only to go in the refrigerator and steal food and then take off.
Wow.
I was a true, like, a hustler, you know? So then at the second year of college, I got a knock on the door. My roommates are like, the police are here to arrest you for, like, bouncing checks. The checks I were bouncing were for $2.50 from the local, like, Chinese stores in the neighborhood. You know, I was hungry. So I jumped out of the second story window and I drove back home and I was like, what am I going to do? Maybe this is a sign I'm supposed to pursue my dream. And my dream was to get out to Hollywood. You know, like I would always, when I was younger, pretend to be a host. In my basement, I'd set up little chairs. I invite neighbors to come over and I pretend to be Oprah. Like I really just loved it. But when you're broke and you're living on the south side of Chicago and no one tells you like, you're going to grow up someday and do something, you just think those dreams are impossible. But when you're hit rock bottom and you've got nothing left to lose, why not try? So I was like, well, maybe I can try to get into some agencies to do some commercial work. Chicago is a big commercial, there's big conferences there, you know, girls are hired to work booths. So I didn't have a headshot. I don't know how to do nothing. So I opened up something called the Yellow Pages back in the day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I was looking for commercial agencies, and I found like 60 to 70 different types of agencies. And I took a Polaroid camera and took literally 70 like selfies, like, and I wrote a little
Yeah.
letter and was like, I would love to figure out how to get into commercials. Everybody turned me down except for one. One said, okay. And I, borrowed an outfit from J.C. Penney's, kept the tags on, took the city bus downtown Chicago, went for this one interview where the lady literally brought me in to tell me I will never make it and I should just sell beer in a bar. And
Wow.
because my Chicago accent was kind of like this, and my hair was down to my butt. And she was just like, it's not happening for you. So I'm standing outside Michigan Avenue crying, and I'm like, what the hell am I going to do now? And across the street was the Playboy building. And I was like, I could never. Like, I come from a strict Catholic family. I have aunts that are nuns, uncles that are priests. Like, this is heavy. We go to church twice a week my whole life, including my birthdays. It was like, no. I found my body walking across the street. Like, literally, I was like, someone's taking over. I'm like, so I go up to the top floor, and because the Playboy building, the headquarters were actually in Chicago at the time.
Oh,
So
wow.
I go up to the elevator, and I just go to the front desk lady, and I'm like, yo, I don't know. I know this is crazy, but how do girls be a playmate? And she's like, not by walking in here. We get 1 million photographs a year. So go home and send in a photo. And I was like, all right. So I'm pressing the elevator button. Everything happens for a reason, I believe. The head editor, whatever, seems to be walking past the elevator. And he's like, are you here inquiring about it being a playmate? I'm like, just looking into it. And he goes, we have a photo shoot going on in the back right now. So if you're up to it, you could throw on a bikini and take a shot. And I was like thinking in my head, oh my God, I didn't shave my legs. I didn't shave my 90s bush. Like, what am I going to do? So I go back and I put on a bikini and I literally take a picture like it's a mugshot because I have no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I was currently working at a Polish grocery store, so I probably had a smell of Polish sausage coming off my body too. So I take the bus home. I'm feeling very defeated. And there's a voicemail on my answering machine that says, hey, we looked at your photo and we think you can test for Miss October. And I was like, oh my God, no way. So my sisters were like, Mom and Dad are going to kill you. You're dead. And I'm like, I know, but I got to do it. I was $20,000 in debt from college. Playboy was paying $20,000. So I was like, this was kind of a manifestation of how am I going to pay this? How am I going to get to Hollywood? So when the magazine, they told me I was accepted as Miss October. So I took the photos, and when the magazine was coming out, I was like, I need to ship my parents out on a cruise so they're not here for when it's on the news that this local girl posed for Playboy. So I took some of that money, sent them on the very first vacation they've ever gone on because we were poor. Yeah. And I had to leave to go do a personal appearance, and I left letters for them, for my sisters to give them. So I go off to LA. When they come back home, it's all over the news. This Mother Macaulay girl, because I went to a prestigious Catholic school, poses nude, was on News at 7, News 8, I was everywhere. So they read the letters. My mom was incredibly disappointed, like tears, like wouldn't talk to me. And that was devastating. It took them a while to get over. I was like, listen, I needed the opportunity to get to Los Angeles. I felt like this was a great opportunity. At least I'll know people when I get there. And she was just not having it. So it took a few months of her, trusting me and forgiving me. And then 8 months later, I had to come home to tell them I won Playmate of the Year. And I was like, oh my God. So I took them out to dinner, and they're like, we're glad that's all over. At least you didn't win that Playmate of the Year thingy. And I was like, I guess that's why we're having filet mignon right now. So they were like, shocked, and they didn't know what to say. But it was $100,000. Now, my dad was probably making 40,000. Our whole family of 6 was surviving on $40,000 a year. So I just won $100,000. So basically, I took the rest of their mortgage and all of their bills and used every cent of that to pay for all of it. Like I was like, I'm going to start broke again, but I don't care. I'm going to take what I saw my parents, my mom scraping for change at the bottom of her purse, growing up.
Yeah.
So when I got out to LA, I did have that foundation of kind of a sorority and people looking out for you. So I heard stories of how not to be taken advantage of, whether you wanted to or not. Some girls didn't mind. Some girls did not. I did not want to. And then I just really stayed focused. And I was like, I'm going to use this. I'm going to take my photos. I'm going to get the F out of here. And I want to get into, what I'm doing. And it was really hard to break in the business because a lot of people saw a Playmate and they're like, hell, absolutely not. Like MTV was my first big break on Singled Out, dating show.
Yeah, I remember. I grew up watching that show.
Yeah, It was a very popular show. I mean, it took over MTV. I was on the cover of Rolling Stone, was my first cover ever. So literally a year before, I was working at the Publix grocery store, cut to, I am now on the cover of Rolling Stone. It happened very fast. And, but getting into MTV wasn't easy either because people they turned me down from even auditioning. So it was like, we would never have a porn star. Now looking at Playboy, it seems so tame compared to everything we see today,
You can find that on TikTok in an afternoon.
Totally, exactly. So I got the job on MTV and then I just kept my head focused and said, this is about longevity in this business. I'm going to stay out of the tabloids as much as possible. I never really got into that kind of era where people got scandals of like drinking or partying. I literally stayed home. It's probably why I dated a really old guy in my 20s because he wanted to stay home and watch Wheel of Fortune. So that made me stay home and watch Wheel of Fortune, So I stayed out of all of that and then really worked to continue my career. And here I am 30 years later, still doing it, which I'm very grateful.
That is a wild story, Jenny. Thank you. I'm glad I didn't do any research for your past because I wanted to hear it from you, not from a random, Wikipedia or something like that.
Right. It is interesting, I will say.
It's fascinating. I mean, so fascinating. So what's your family think now? I mean, you mentioned them coming around. You obviously set them up for success, paid off their debt. I mean, do they think you've made it now?
Oh, yeah. They're so sweet and so proud. And I still help them any way I possibly can. And I feel I got 3 sisters as well who had to go through it. They were still in that Catholic high school when I posed. So they took a lot of heat, but I have the most supportive, loving family.
That's beautiful. Well, I'm curious, like growing up with that sort of spiritual, religious foundation, how was that? I mean, is that still a part of your life at all? That sort of
I'm so glad you asked me that question. I'm so glad you asked me that question because when I won Playmate of the Year, I received, by the way, we were cut out of our other family, like the uncles and the nuns and the priests. I received a letter from my uncle about my damnation to hell that was like 4 pages long. Wow. I got it. I was reading it in my car. I was bawling my eyes out because I still believed that I was going to burn in hell for all eternity. And he was like, we're only going to forgive you if you get on your knees publicly and beg for God's forgiveness. And that really broke my heart, where it allowed me to start seeking other belief systems. And I literally walked into a little shop called, it was like the Psychic Eye bookshop in LA. And I start to read book on consciousness, on astral projection, beautiful books. And it started to open my mind and open my heart that we're allowed to believe, in anything we want, and we're still going to be loved. So I kind of forgave myself and then got deep into like Buddhism and I kept testing things out. Now I consider myself to be incredibly spiritual. I do a lot of work on myself. I'm an Eckhart Tolle lover. Aaron Apke, I don't know if you've ever heard of him. Byron Katie, Donnie and I, our whole marriage is based around something that she does called The Work.
I read the book. It's great.
It's amazing. It transformed our lives. So I live life as best as I can, being awake as possible, and always testing myself, questioning myself, and putting out the best service to others as I possibly can.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, so let's jump forward to your son being diagnosed with autism. As a parent, like at the time, what resources were out there? What were you being told, and what caused you to say, no, I'm gonna seek some answers out here?
So my son, Evan, was around 2.5 when the first nightmare moment began. I noticed that I kind of slept in late one day, and I was like, that's weird. Evan never sleeps in this late. And then I just got this terrifying feeling in my chest that made me run to his bedroom. And as soon as I opened the door, I heard him struggling to breathe. And when I looked in the crib, he was like blue and convulsing. Picked him up in my arms, screaming, called 911. I had never seen anyone have a seizure before, where his eyes were rolled back in the head. He was struggling to get any breath out. It was one of the worst moments of my life. I have had many with him, but this was terrifying. The paramedics came, we brought him to the hospital, and they said, oh, he had a febrile seizure. This is very common. But I was very confused because febrile seizures usually go with a fever. He didn't have a fever. He wasn't sick. So, but I didn't know anything. I trusted, So we went home and I was like, okay, that was a scary thing that happened. I'm going to just ignore it and move on. It's almost like it was so painful, I needed to compartmentalize it and not really look into it further. I trusted them. Okay, I'll believe what they say. Cut to about 2 weeks later, we were driving to Palm Springs and to visit his grandma. And when we arrived, his eyes rolled back in his head and he started to convulse again, except he wasn't moving, nor was he breathing. He wound up having a seizure that went into cardiac arrest. So he essentially was gone in front of me. The paramedics came and they started CPR. And I just remember wanting to die. I remember thinking, am I going to run out in the middle of traffic? Am I going to stab myself? Because I wasn't going to live if he died. My son was my life, is my life. But I was like, I can't survive. And so I prayed to God. I was like, please, 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 please. We got him in the ambulance. I looked back in the window. I was sitting in the front seat. They gave me a thumbs up like they got him back. Got to the hospital. By the time we were taking him out, he went into cardiac arrest again, doing more CPR. It was a nightmare. They wanted to air vac him back to Los Angeles. There was no helicopters available. We had to take the 3-hour drive to LA, Cedars-Sinai Hospital, and I was dying because he kept seizing the whole way. So this was my big red alert. There is something big going on with my son. And it wasn't until probably a few months later with a neurology appointment that they said, your son has autism. And I was devastated. I mean, I just couldn't believe it, because what appeared to be a normal child suddenly, had a seizure, and then another seizure went into cardiac arrest, and now he basically kind of stopped speaking. And so then I dove into what I could have researched. Now, back then, you guys, Google was brand new, but Google didn't even have that much shit on it. It didn't have many things, but there was a thing in the corner that says autism is reversible. And I was like, what the snake bullshit oil is this? And I clicked on it, and it was an organization called Generation Rescue. And it was talking, and all it was a group of parents and some doctors and scientists that they were working with. Almost, it felt like underground, that said, hey, we've been working on our kids, and we noticed when we did these little things to them, it really helped improve them. And it was things that were easy, like dairy and removing gluten and dairy, supplementing some vitamins and things like that. So I was like, well, this doesn't sound too bad. This doesn't sound like I'm hurting my child. Why don't I just give it a try? So I decided to start removing gluten and removing dairy. And within 2 weeks, Evan said 3 words. And I was like, holy shit, sign me up for this snake oil. You know, this shit is kind of working. Now, back then, functional medicine doctors were called DAN doctors. The acronym Defeat Autism Now. And so we didn't have that many DAN doctors. So it was like you have to fly somewhere to see a DAN doctor. So what we did was we do what you guys do now, which is you take incredible testing. You go deep diving into the causation of what is going on inside someone's body. And we found that Evan, like a lot of these kids, had, major gut issues, major methylation issues. They're not able to detox their body like a typical kid. I can bring up the word vaccine right now because we're friends, but there is many parents who've been screaming from the rooftops. I saw a correlation. Now, Evan had his MMR shot, and it was shortly after that he has seizures. So that has been noted in published science that this does happen. Seizures is a side effect. Our seizures led to him not speaking, led to an autism diagnosis. But when I dove into his biology of what was going on, what happened in his body, his gut was so inflamed. He had tons of candida. He had so much toxins that I knew I have to heal his body. Maybe if I heal his body, some of the symptoms will ease up. Now, this is where you can get a lot of flack these days from the autism community saying, there's nothing to fix. There's nothing to fix.
I get every time I talk about autism, it's that somehow, they're seeing it as a slight against neurodiversity. And that's not what we're talking about, right?
It's so not. And listen, and Evan knows this, the autism community is, to me, the angelic community. They are so gifted and beautiful and loving beings. What my main goal and our main goal for this community of parents and doctors is we want to make you feel better, because there's a lot of things that gives you some, I used to call them like the ouchies, where it doesn't make you feel good. And if we can fix those, then, your superpowers can shine. Because they have superpowers. But when you don't feel good, you don't want to go to school, you don't want to talk to people, you want to sit, you want to hold your belly, you want to rock, you want to do, the sensories can be overloaded. So I noticed the more I cleaned Evan out, like literally the amount of candida coming out of this poor kid, he went catatonic at one point because I cleaned him out too quickly. But I was so determined. Like, I had that conversation with God of like, you tell me how to make my boy feel better. I promise I will teach the world how I did it. I won't be one of those celebrities that stay quiet. I will scream it from the rooftops. And boy, did I do that. But so, and a few years later, he, the state would have to keep coming over and retesting in order to get services. And he was qualified over and over again by UCLA, by the state. Because people are like, well, maybe he never had autism. That's why Evan's doing so well. No, he absolutely had it. And I actually publicized his papers because people were so giving me shit for it. But these kids do get better. They feel better. And again, we're not taking away your superpowers. We're taking away the ouchies. We're making your methylation, your system run better so that you can have normal poops. Evan was only going poop once every 14 days by enema only. That is not good. That's a suffering child, the eczema, all of those things, the tippy toe walking, the perseverating, so we did so much work. We did so much. And again, sorry, my answers are so long, but we have the time. But
I love it.
I was like, I went from everything from like flying him to Canada to try those treatments or to rub spoons on his body. It was like, I tried everything because I said, if I try it, I can tell people what worked and what didn't work. So they don't have to fly to Canada. So they don't have to do these work. I called the Mormon Tabernacle Church to come over and pray. And I'm not Mormon. Okay. But someone said the Mormons know how to pray and heal. So I was like, I'm bringing them over. So I just threw everything at that kid. And I'm very blessed because he did get better. And he's not alone. A lot of kids do get better. Feel better. Let me say feel better.
Thank you for that. Yeah, feel better. Be the best versions of themselves, right? So Where is he at now? I mean, he was nonverbal, having all these horrible symptoms. Can you kind of, for people that don't see him now or don't know him now, where is he at now?
He's amazing. He's got the superpower called ADHD. The apple didn't fall far from the tree. He's doing great. His latest functional medicine doctor said, Jenny, Evan's blood work is a testament to how much work that you've done through the years because it looks so good. But we have kept him, gluten-free. He barely has sugar. Evan, he still has maybe some auditory processing issues, but other than that, he's great. Like his dream, because he's a little much too much in this family of entertainment, is being a YouTube content creator. So he's got his own channel. He monetizes. Amazing. So shout out if you have kids, ADHD or on the spectrum, that want to check out gaming_USA. He'll be really appreciated, but he works every day filming in his other room. He's got a little studio, and you should check out, if you want to see how he's doing, check out his YouTube channel.
That's amazing, Jenny. Thank you. Hey, how old is he now?
He's 22.
That's amazing. So cool. My son Solomon's 18, and he's like, it's like that cliche as parents, the days are long, but the years are short. Like, how did we have these adult men? I don't get it.
I don't get it either. I used to pray when he was like 8 and really like going through hard times. I was like, please God, let him be 20 already. And now he's 22. And I'm like, I miss those days.
Yeah, it's true. So that moment where you prayed out to God and you said, God, if he starts improving and optimizing how he feels, I want to shout this from the rooftops. I won't be one of these celebrities that keeps it quiet, because you could have kept it quiet. That would have been the safe thing, is to help your son, but keep it to the family. What you meant what you said to God at that moment, to really put it out there. So what was that like? I mean, what was the first time you talked about it publicly?
The first time I talked about it publicly, I think was my book on Oprah. That was my first debut. And it was scary. It was terrifying. I never sweated so much in my life. And I know there's still a lot of people that disagree with me, and you're welcome to. This is what's so great about America. But there was a lot of people that it did help. There was a lot of people that took what I said and just even changed their diet, started giving some fish oils, things like that really helped their child. Now, I'm still getting a lot of flack for it, and I'm okay with it. I still hurt sometimes, but I always knew that my fame had a bigger purpose. Like, I always knew, like, you could tell I still dabble in like hosting, and I did some acting. Like, there isn't something that I'm like, boy, I really wanted to be a blank. And I realized when all this happened, I really wanted to be a messenger of like a service to others. So I just try to use my fame, what little I have of it, to help as many people. And I want to continue doing that. I'm still raising money for these kids. I'm trying to help. Kennedy and I have been on the road for a long time. He marched with me when Evan was 3. So 19 years ago, we marched in Washington, D.C. with over 10,000 parents. And it's kind of wild. We stood in front of the HHS shouting, like, we need help, we need help. And now he's the head of HHS.
My gosh.
If someone would have said to me, Kennedy is going to head up the HHS like in this many years from now, I'd be like, okay, that person is high, or I jumped timelines. Because it truly is a miracle. And there is
a miracle. That's where I first met Bobby, was at your event. It was in Chicago, I think, or maybe Texas. No, this is the Dallas one. Or this was, I had the same conversation with Candace, who was at we missed you. You weren't at the Maha Ball, but what a moment. Who would have dreamt that he's being used in this way? It's powerful, isn't it?
Right. And I think for people that still question his intention, just please hold off on those and just wait to see what he does, because our food has been so fucked up for so long. A lot of our health issues, the amount of cancer that young adults are getting, with the pesticides and with our water, things like that, he is going to fix. I firmly believe that. So just hold off the protest to just see and give him a chance, and watch what he does. I mean, and truthfully, I look back and see Evan's path, and people go, wow, you really helped save your son's life. I'm like, no. He helped save mine, because I never would have realized how fucked up I was. Excuse my French. I was metabolically, you know what I mean? I was so fucked up that I believe, I have no doubt, I would have had way more diagnoses than I already have right now. He saved me. So I was able to, once I helped get Evan to a place, I was able to apply the oxygen mask to myself. And that's when I started to diving into what is affecting my body and how can I best fix it, because I want to live forever and ever and ever and ever. And boy, did I go deep in my own health. I mean, we can talk about that shit.
Yeah, I like that. I think one of the last times I saw you was on your radio show. Thanks for having me on. You were telling me, I might have been off there on there, about you were doing an elemental diet at the time. Do you remember that?
Of course.
What was that like? Yeah, I mean, how do you do that on the regular, or?
I did an elemental diet because I couldn't figure out like what was triggering me food-wise. Like I did my testing of what I'm allergic to, but I was still having problems. Did the elemental diet. It helped while I was on it, but it still wasn't combating the problems. So I went back then to another functional medicine doctor, where we just really kept going until we peeled the onions and everything going on with me, and discovering that MTHFR gene mutation really did help. It really did help me. I didn't think it would, but then, I still suffer from like the Hashimoto's. I've got celiac disease. I didn't realize how bad my celiac disease was, and then I had to discover the hidden gluten in things, and how my body just cannot detox. Like the amount of glyphosate in the pesticides, if you don't know that word, in my system when I'm already an organic eating person, I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Like the heavy metals, the glyphosate, it's because of my methylation issue. I am not able to detox like the rest of people.
Yeah.
As my stomach crawls.
There's such compelling research connecting MTHFR and moms with Hashimoto's and kids on the spectrum. And I don't know if you've looked into that, but I mean, this is this sort of neuroinflammatory component that we all can optimize from, but you have to know what you're dealing with to do something about it, right?
That's 100% right. And I just read this as well. They said they're finding that mothers who have autoimmune, if a woman has an autoimmune issue, you better be very, very careful and identify those, clean your system out, be very careful with your child, because there seems to be a genetic predisposition to not methylate environmental toxins. So I say, if anything, clean your bodies out before you want to make some babies out there. But I also have leaky gut. Been trying to heal leaky gut forever. I went on the carnivore diet just recently. I'm on month 3.
Wow, what's it been like for you?
I was so resistant. And I was like, you know what? I just got to do, because I kept bloating. I'm like, what is going on? The carnivore diet has changed my life. It has changed my life.
Amazing.
Of course, I get grass-fed, grass-finished. I also do intermittent with it. And I've seen such amazing changes, from the inflammation to me being able to go to the bathroom. I used to take, this is scary. This is only up until last year. I have a colonic machine at home, like the self one. I'd have to do like 4 or 5 colonics a month. I would take 10 different laxatives a day just to go to the bathroom. I am down to 0 laxatives, 0 colonics, and my system is moving smoothly. Now, mind you, I'm a carnivore that has meat and avocados. I still allow the avocados, and I have fiber powder to keep my body having a lot of fiber, but it has changed my life completely.
That's so cool. Thanks for sharing that. What fiber supplement? Do you have one that you like?
I use Thorn.
Okay.
It's kind of one of my favorites. So
It's doing the job. It's doing the job. Okay, something was trending, and I saw it on my algorithm on Instagram the other week. Was your interview on Larry King talking about all this stuff years ago? Do you remember that interview? I mean, it's going viral now because it's almost so prescient now that you were saying things that now the world's waking up to. You were saying years ago.
Yeah, a lot of those episodes are burned into my soul.
Okay, bad, right?
But I did see them going viral, and people, one thing I've noticed is a lot of people saying like, I didn't get it then, but I get it now.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that COVID did was wake people up to, at least questioning the science again. Because when you hear the science is settled, I would always go like, wait a minute. In biology and chemistry class, we learned that you're always supposed to question the science. You're always supposed to question it's a constant evolving question. There is no settled. So people are now starting to see, I might need to look into that a little bit more than taking people's word for it, including mine. I always tell people, do your own research. I only share my experience, what happened with my son. And then I invited people to do their own.
Yeah, thank you. Let's talk about clean beauty and what we put on our skin. We've been talking a lot about from the inside out with the foods that we eat, other gut health, etc. What kind of propelled you to get into the beauty space? Well, yeah, tell me about that journey.
Okay, so a lot of my friends and people I know were being diagnosed with cancer, and it's alarmed me so much considering I have so much shit wrong with me. I know my body can't methylate, and they hadn't even looked into their own methylation issue. I just knew mine, and I said, you know what? I've cleaned up my food. But I didn't look into beauty, and being in this business and me loving beauty, I'm pounding my face and body with stuff that I'm unsure of. So I went and did so much research and trying to find the cleanest brand possible. I wanted the cleanest one. I wanted the top of the line. The problem with the top of the line clean beauties was they weren't performing well. Sometimes that if you get organic or granola stuff, you're like, So I said, you know what? Let me see if I can make the tippy top cleanest brand and it perform well. But I'm like, how does little old Jenny McCarthy know what clean is? So I met with the Environmental Working Group. Do you know who they are?
Oh, yeah. Good friends.
Okay. EWG.org, you guys. If you know Dr. Will, you should know EWG.org. They have been doing the most incredible work. They've been doing what the FDA should be doing, and that is knowing the toxins that are in our beauty supply, okay? And they do other things besides beauty, but that's what I focus on. So meeting with them, I said, I want to create a whole beauty brand around your regulations because you guys have done the work. Little did I know, they were going to hand me a booklet of over 900 pages of unacceptable ingredients and said, okay, here you go. Now, that's just not 900 ingredients, 900 pages of unacceptable ingredients. And I was like, holy shit, I got my work cut out for me. Now, there isn't many brands on there because it is almost impossible to meet their guidelines. Okay. Now, this is why my company, Formless Beauty, we are so slow to roll out product because it has to go through rigorous testing, taking the ingredients, test the amounts. We do third-party testing. Like, we do so much because I want, like I said, the cleanest of clean. I want the top of the line, and I want it to perform well. So I partnered up with my my makeup artist so she can be the asshole about the performance side, and I can be the real dick about the cleanliness side. So together, we did such a good job. Can I brag about one product specifically? I'm so proud of.
Go for it.
Mascara. This is our mascara. When I found out mascara is like one of the second biggest offenders in makeup, I was like, what the fuck is in mascara? Sorry.
Yeah.
What the hell is in mascara? So I found out that most mascaras have forever chemicals in it. Yeah. And I was like, what?
Because of the waterproof. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we made ours water resistant. which means it's a lot easier to get off at night, but it also stays on. We made ours buildable without parabens, without phthalates, and a lot of mascaras use aluminum powder. We do not. No formaldehyde, which they use. So that this is one that's getting talked about, and it's like one of our best sellers. It comes in a glass tube. But I was like, see, that's what I want to do. I want it to perform well. I want it to be clean. So now we've got, our non-sticky clean lip glosses.
So take us through the line, because we just had a whole episode on the pod about forever chemicals, and makeup was a major one. For people that don't know, like what are forever chemicals? And then, can you define that, I guess, for people?
Sure. Forever chemicals, like he said, it's in waterproof. And you guys, it's not just in makeup. It's in other things that are waterproof. And these are chemicals that there's a reason why they say forever, is because they're nearly impossible to get out of your system. Some say it could take up to like 10 years. I'm going to believe it's good luck. They do cause cancer, much like parabens, also like phthalates. And I even described autism. I'm described cancer and other issues as is like, how much can your bucket hold of toxins? Okay. Yeah. We're allowed some, and our bucket methylates, it cleans it out. But when you're piling and piling and piling stuff into this bucket, it then overflows. And when you have a bucket that overflows, you guys, this dysregulates your system. And so do you want to be pounding your face with those things filling your bucket? No. We also have no talc. Why is that important? Because they're finding asbestos in talc. So that's why all of our eyeshadows are talc free, but they still perform well. Our lip glosses, I still could not believe how much shit is in lip gloss. And you put it on your mouth. You're eating it. So I'm so excited because grandmas all buy this for their granddaughters, but moms are letting their daughters use their makeup. What else? Our hyaluronic acid, which we just launched. A lot of people don't know it's made with hyaluronic acid is made with bacteria, not ours. Ours is botanical. We've got. By the way, this is for men and women, so I'll have to send you some. Will this is our scrub. I love it. So these are things that we worked so hard on and sat down. We have meetings with the scientists at EWG helping us kind of perfect it. We are going through the process of getting the stamp. It takes years to get that stamp because they have to go through and test our stuff. So we're like 1 point away. We made it to stage 2 to get that nice label on there. And that's going to be the day I'm going to cry and celebrate. Because we're like, oh my God, I had this dream of doing it, and we're almost there.
That's so cool. I love that you went to EWG to say, like, because they're such the gold standard in the space and to do it. And when you look at your brand, you can see the chicness, you can see the high performance, like you're saying. What I love about what you've done is that you're not shoving it in people's face to say, well, this is about clean. For people who are interested in that, they'll know, but you're helping the people that just care about the performance, but you're helping them about with their health without even them knowing it.
That's right. Because sometimes if you just promote clean, 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 people are like, well, I know how that goes. But I want to sell it because it's great makeup. It's so good. Like I could say there's a bunch of our customers that don't even care about the clean part, but they just love how well it performs. So we are actively working on, we've got lip liners coming out, eyeliners coming out. What else? Foundation we're working on because that's, a big one. People are worried about the thing, but we've got moisturizer and cleansers coming out. So I hope you do give our company a chance. And Formless Beauty, it's called. If I could tell you how I came up with the name, I would love that.
Yeah, share it with us. Yeah,
it's kind of a unique name. It's called Formless, and I'm a big lover of Eckhart Tolle. And I always loved when Eckhart referred to his our soul as formless, because it doesn't take a form. Our souls don't have form. Our bodies do, but the soul doesn't. So when I was creating the brand, I wanted to put an intention behind it and remind people that even though we're talking about beauty and what's on the outside, that I want to remind them that true beauty comes from within, that is the truth. That's formless. True beauty, inner beauty is formless beauty. And that's why I wanted that name, just stuck with me. And here we are.
Yeah, amazing. Eckhart Tolle, man, the book, Power of Now on New Earth, I can listen to those audiobooks over and over again. It's like required, right? It's no matter how many times you listen to it or read it, you get something new out of it.
Absolutely. And he's to me the real game changer. And we're lucky enough to be alive at a time
Yeah.
when Eckhart is, because he is changing lives. If you haven't read his books, you guys, it's changed my life. It absolutely changed my life. I got to have dinner with him a couple times, which was so fun.
Amazing.
So
So
fun.
cool. I would love that. Next time you have a dinner with Eckhart Tolle, invite your
Okay,
boy.
okay.
All right. So going back to Formless Beauty, like, is there a routine, a ritual that you people like? What do you do? What's your Formless Beauty ritual? How do you use the products?
Okay, well, the cleanser and moisturizer, which comes out in the next couple months, I've been using. I am the test dummy because we are vegan, cruelty free. We're also gluten free because I have celiac disease. So it's a great, safe brand. I wash my face with the cleanser. I then use the scrub that we have. Then I use the hyaluronic acid, and then I use the moisturizer. And makeup wise, we do have false lashes, by the way, but every day I'm just using my mascara. Like I said, super easy to get rid of. We've got 2 eyeshadow colors currently out. We've cream blushes. Now, why am I proud of our cream blushes? Because a lot of them have formaldehyde in it. Now, I don't really know how to do my makeup. You can see I'm kind of, but I love makeup and I don't want to die for it, you know? So I'm
Yeah,
proud
that's
that
right.
they don't have, a lot of those cream blushes have the formaldehyde in it. Ours do not. So, and our lip glosses, like I said, I love them so much. They're made with aloe, chamomile, shea butter. So you're getting that nice hydration.
And you said what's coming out this year? What are the new things?
We've got the
And
moisturizer and cleanser coming out in the next couple months. We've got lip liners and eyeliners coming out in the next few months. And then hopefully foundation in the next year or so. It's going to be a long one.
Amazing. What's next for you? I mean, you're working on Formless Beauty. Any other projects you're excited
Yes,
about?
I'm glad you asked me that, Dr. Wilco. Because and this is my first time I'm announcing this. My book agent
wow.
doesn't even know this, but I just finished my, I think it's 10th or 11th book. I can't count anymore.
Oh my gosh.
But it's on menopause. Now, this
No
is,
way. That's awesome.
if you read my book back in the day on belly laughs, which was a bestseller with pregnancy symptoms, I did the same thing with menopause. It's very funny, but I go through each symptom in each chapter in a hilarious story, but also what I did to help remediate those issues and how HRT saved my life, hormone replacement therapy, and other things that I did to make menopause, again, I think a superpower now because I fucking love it. I love it. Yeah, I actually love it.
When's the book come out?
You know,
Do you have a
my
date?
agent is going to call me and be like, really? So I literally just put the end on it yesterday while I was laying
Okay,
in
so-
bed with the flu. And so I'm hoping if they can turn it around quick, October is Menopause Awareness Month. So I would love to
Okay.
have it in October.
That's a crash schedule, man. To get that out in October, but
Right?
hey, you can do it.
I could do
for
it.
sure. In preparation for this episode, it jogged my memory that you were a co-host on The View for a few years. How long was that?
Too long. It was a year.
A year that felt like more than years. So I mean, it's such a show in our culture for all because the podcast is on Dear Media. So I'm like interested in health and wellness and all that stuff. But I know a lot of people that listen to the podcast are interested in pop culture and all of that stuff. What was that like being a co-host on The View?
Well, you know, I was hired to take over to fill a spot between Joy and Elizabeth because they said that it was too polarizing for the audience. That's when they got, they would have the split screen with, So I went in to be fluff. I went in to bring pop culture. So I was like, hey, I could do that. And little did I know after 1 week, Barbara was not having it anymore. Barbara did not want to talk pop culture. She wanted only politics. Now, I don't consider myself a pundit in that area at all. Like I was into healing with autism and then what Katy Perry's up to, those were my two roads. So it was really, really tough for me, but I learned a lot and I was honored. I got to be there the last year Barbara was there.
Wow.
And then I got the lucky break to go into radio and then Masked Singer called. Masked Singer called to hire me. And it has been one of the funnest jobs of my life. I count my blessings. Thank you guys for watching it because it gets better and better every season. I think we're on season 13.
It's a huge success. I mean, everybody talks about Masked Singer. I mean, what's that like? What's that like being a part of it?
It's so fun. It's so fun. And this is where my pop culture status makes me
you
one of the
could
greatest
shine.
judge. Because those two, all the other judges are only Googling about themselves. I Google about other people. So I kind of am able to put the clues together and work on it. Like I'm kind of a little bit psychotic when it comes to trying to figure out who it is. A lot of people are like, hey, are you guys getting the answers? Heck no. I am. I wish they showed the behind the scenes because I'm fuming if I get something wrong, if I don't get it right. I'm a little bit crazy that way. But the gift from the show is the amount of families that come up to me and say, this is the first time in forever that I get to watch a TV show with my son or my daughter because they peel away from their computers or their phones and they sit down and they watch the show with me. And to me, to bring families together, know that I'm doing a little bit more than just, yucking it up on a stage. We're bringing people together in a sweet way.
That's so cool. Someone else that I met through you that I just went, my brother Jordan and I went to go see Boys to Men the other night in Pittsburgh. And I met Sean at an event that you put on in autism. And weren't they on Masked Singer? Tell me about that. Boys to Men on Masked Singer.
Last season, they came out and I was like, they first started singing and they were trying to trick us. So they threw their voice. But I was just like, Donnie was on tour with them. So I was very familiar with even the sounds, even if they were trying to trick us. And I was like, I think that's Boys to Men. And I love that Robin was like, you're crazy. Literally for 5 episodes, he was like, Jenny, you're being stupid right now. You don't know. And I was like, well, maybe he's right. But I was like, no. So I stuck to it. By episode 6, Robin felt so stupid. He's like, yeah, I think it is. I think he might be right.
So good. As you know, Jenny, the podcast is called The Art of Being Well. At the end of every episode, we have your art of being well, which we've learned about a lot today. But I'm going to throw a few questions at you. First question is, what's the worst tasting healthy food that you eat? It's for its health benefits only, but it tastes freaking disgusting.
Oil of oregano.
Yeah, that'll do it.
I don't
Especially
like it.
us coming over some coughs and flus or whatnot. It's good for that, right?
But I'm hardcore. I go like right underneath the tongue, and I was like. I'm assuming you take supplements. If so, what are 2 maybe out of the box, lesser known supplements that you feel like people should know about? What a great question. You would be floored by my counter of the amount of vitamins that I have. But I do take the peptide BP 1507 or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
I'm just
BPC 157.
That's it. Just gave the last 4 digits of my social security number, which is funny. But yeah, that one, I think people would be surprised to know. I also do glutathione shots in my butt. Dinah and I both go every day. We're always low on glutathione no matter what we do. So we stuck to injections and I'm happy about that.
I love it. What's some place that you haven't been to in the world that's on your bucket list?
What a beautiful question. I always tell Donnie I want to go to Switzerland. I think it's just so beautiful. I went to Calgary, Alberta. I shot a little Christmas movie there, and I was weeping at the gorgeousness of the mountains and the snow and Banff. I was like, oh! Yeah. So I could only imagine my reaction would be for Switzerland.
I love it. Good answer. What's a place that you have been to that should be on other people's bucket list?
Banff.
Banff sounds amazing. I've never been to Banff. I've been. Yeah, tell me about it.
It is the most beautiful. I was trying to shoot this movie and I kept crying, and they're like, "Can you stop crying?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, but the hills are alive with the sound of music," and they're singing to me right now. It is breathtaking. The lakes reflecting the mountains. It's just so beautiful and romantic, and it's a must place. Must go.
Love it. What's your favorite restaurant in the world, if you have one? And when you're there, what do you order there?
It's really hard for me to eat out anymore because I don't trust the food and the amount of glyphosate stuff. Yeah. So I don't eat out anymore. But
you're on the carnivore diet too, so it's going to be a grass-fed steak.
I get grass-fed, so I can't even give you one because I mean, for instance, I took Evan out to dinner in New York when I was doing a press tour there last week. So I'm like, I have to go somewhere. And I went to that gluten-free called Senza Gluten restaurant.
Oh, yeah, I've been there.
Yeah. And that was good. So I can give that a shout out.
Give a shout out. You know what else you could do? Whether you're in, actually, there's not one in New York. If you're in LA, there's several. In Chicago, there's one. True Food Kitchen. Have you been there before?
Yes, True Food
Kitchen. They have a grass-fed
steak.
steak.
That's right.
They have a grass-fed steak
one.
with no seed oils too. You should check it out.
Yes, exactly. More restaurants need to get on that bandwagon. But I also found out now if they switch to beef tallow, they need to do the grass-fed beef tallow. Like,
yeah,
you can't just get regular beef tallow.
No, for sure. This is a good question for you. What's the weirdest or most maybe out of the box, controversial even thing you've done for your wellness that you're willing to admit on a podcast?
That's a good question because I've done a lot of crazy stuff. But I don't think biofeedback is that crazy. Have you ever heard of the Rasha?
No, tell me about it.
RASHA. If you look into that, I have a chair downstairs and it's got a big bulb on it. And it is still about frequencies. It costs a friggin' fortune for it, but I don't know. To me, like frequency does heal. And when I got COVID back in the day, there's a setting for COVID. I'm not kidding. I got off the chair and was like, holy shit, I feel so much better. So to me, I think that people would consider that really weird. But I also have a hyperbaric chamber in my house, which I go in all the time. So people might think that is weird as well. But I think the Rasha people might be like.
Yeah, that's a good answer for sure. So resonance, frequency, like PEMF, probably some technology there. That's cool. I'll have to look into it. My friend,
it's scalar energy. If people want to know what kind of energy, it's scalar energy. But go ahead.
Okay. Galar, Galar?
SC. You'll see it on the website. You just got to capitalize Rasha, RASHA.
Okay, got it. My friend, this has been a blessing. I mean, honestly, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I appreciate it.
I love what you do, so thank you. And I'm going to be sending you your Formless Beauty for you, too.
Oh, my gosh. I want to try it. My wife would want to try the makeup. We'll give it a try. Okay. Tell people where to go. Where do they go for Formless Beauty and all the work you're doing?
Okay, so go to formlessbeauty.com and you guys can see it. And I also go live a lot on my Instagram. If you want to follow me there at Jenny McCarthy, where I'm giving discounts. And also check out Masked Singer. It's on now every Wednesdays, guys. So it's a good season. Lucky 13.
Jenny, thanks for coming on.
Love you, Will. Thank you.
Love you too.